back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Strange New Worlds Season 1, Episode 2, Children of the Comet. What is it? No, you won't fool Children of the Comet. No, that doesn't really sound as good as Children of the Revolution. We're live at our new time of 1:30 p.m. Hopefully, folks will still be able to make it. It's nice to have you here, Ian, and I think Marcelo's shuttlecraft is running late, but he should be docking shortly, and then we'll have Marcelo here with us as well.
He must be
Hopefully.
flying around the comet. That's all I
Yeah, he
can
must
say.
be doing the Spock maneuver right now. Audience, you can help us out by telling all your friends that we're live and we're a little bit earlier. The reason we're earlier is because right after this, I gotta get ready for our stream over at Trek Central, and I hope everyone will come and hang out there with us. Last week was such a fun chat over there. It's great hanging out with Captain Jack and kind of downloading and getting all the info out there about this week in Trek. So please check that out as well. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That would be 9 p.m. UK time, I believe. So yeah, so check it out. And in the audience, we have Cake is Eternal. Nice to see you. Joel's here, and so is Ian's. How are you? That's cool. I always get impressed when you're in close places.
Oh, multitasking.
Very nice, very nice. Well, this was a pretty cool episode of Strange New Worlds. So far, so good with the two episodes. You want to give the episode summary first, Ian? We'll stall a little bit for Marcelo.
I'll try.
Awesome.
It starts off with Uhura doing her cadet's log, talking about life on the Enterprise, and she is invited to the captain's table, for want of a better way of doing it. The captain's there to where he puts on dinner, and he's cooking ribs for everybody. There, you've got Una, number one, Spock. You've got half the senior staff, but obviously Uhura has a little bit of a hazing where she's dressed up in a dress uniform. Hey, Miss Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Marcelo,
Doing
good
well.
to see you, buddy.
So she has a bit of a hazing, and of course, when Pike opens the door, I go, the number one dress uniform, nice one. Where they chat, and they talk about Uhura. We find out that Uhura not only lost her parents in a shuttle accident, but her older brother as well. And they have the dinner. After the dinner, Pike and number one Una chat, and basically Una is trying to tell him that his fate is not sealed in stone, it's not set in stone, and things that may change. But he says that he can remember all the cadets that he saved at that time.
He names them all, yeah.
While they're talking, they get Spock calls them to the bridge, and they find out that the comet that they've been viewing.
Oh, Spock also has that little conversation with Uhura. It's that where he's like kind of where he's kind of telling her, "Hey, make some room if you're not into it.
If you're not into it, basically, if you don't like it, go away." But yeah, they get called to the bridge. We find out that the comet will hit Persephone 3, I think it is.
Yep.
And they attempt to do something. They say they're going to use ion engines, and they use photon torpedoes. But we find that the comet is shielded. From there, they say, well, it's shielded from attack, but we should be able to beam down. And you have the landing party of Lahan, Spock, Sam Kirk, and Uhura. They beam down, and they go down, and they find out there's an egg. Sam Kirk being Sam Kirk,
egg at that.
Yeah, it did. Sam Kirk being Sam Kirk touches it and gets completely knocked out. And Lahan and Spock take turns in looking after Sam, while they leave it to Uhura to find out what's happening with the egg. And they find out that it is that the temple, for want of a better word, is sound activated, whether it's music there, and it's not a code, it is notes of music, so where Uhura and Spock um, create the music, and they it opens up for them. They get and where they can leave. But in the meantime, that they're trying to find out, that the Enterprise comes into contact with the Shepherds, that saying that this comet is not a comet, and that it's part of their religion, and it's preordained, that whether it's going to destroy, whether it's going to create life, it's preordained. So you've got the Enterprise dealing with that one, and you've got the ground crew, oh sorry, the landing party dealing with the egg. After that, they come back up. Sam Kirk goes to Medbay, and they start working all together to work out how they're going to get out of this mess. From there, they realise that if they get in front of it, in front of the comet, that the Shepherds won't destroy the Enterprise. But they have a little sneaky plan where Spock will go out on the shuttle and go near the comet, but not touch, or go touch the comet, and it will help break up. And he is basically, he does, how do we do this? It's a Star Wars maneuver, really, for want of a better thing, where
Oh, what Obi-Wan
he's on the
does. That's
side.
right.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, and also the Millennium Falcon did it on the
Right.
side of a bit there. So
Obi-Wan did
he
it
releases.
first.
Yeah, Obi-Wan did it first. So he goes round the Comet Splits, and while it's splitting, it releases a load of moisture and water into the atmosphere of Persephone 3, which makes it a more viable option, so it can grow plantation, and that the inhabitants will start growing and staying alive. They
Mohanit.
talk to they talk to the shepherds again, and everything's fine, everything's happy. And afterwards is another chat between number one and Pike, and then Pike starts looking at all the people that he starts saving.
It's
The end.
raining men. Hallelujah. That's when I would be happy.
So the first question I have to ask you, Starfleet boy, is who is the husband of the week in this episode?
It was the ginger lad who was at the op station and in several scenes throughout the episode. He was at one point he was keeping Una's chair warm. Surprisingly, I don't think I did a screenshot of him for today. I posted him on Twitter the other day, but I somehow missed I missed him in the screenshots, so I don't have I don't have my episode husband in here. But there's the series husband. So there's episode husbands, and then there's the series husband, which is Chief Kyle.
Well, is that as well? We are now in Strange New World, so it's going to be the husband of the week.
Yeah, there's a husband of the week, and then also Ortegas is also my husband in this episode, by the way, because she's pretty awesome, so she gets to be my husband as well. I rarely
Cool.
I make a few. There's sometimes I make exceptions, and ladies can be my husband as well. So either
No,
way.
she was pretty cool in this one. She
She
was
was
pretty
pretty cool.
cool.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
We got some nice comments in the audience. By the way, welcome Marcelo. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank
Uh,
you.
we got some nice comments in the audience. Earl Grey Trekkie can only be here for I think 2 more minutes because he said 7 minutes like 6 minutes ago. Joel says
Okay.
I thought Sam was gonna have a face hugger after getting knocked over by the egg. That's kind of funny. I like that. EGT says I can't decide if I like episode 1 or 2. I think I like this one better personally. I think
I
this
I
one.
prefer, I
Yeah.
like this one. I like more than the first one
How
myself.
about you,
Yeah.
Marcelo? Which one do you like better, first or this one?
The first one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Ruben Diaz says, Ruben, our friend. I'm like, who's Ruben Diaz? I'm reading it formally. Our friend Ruben says, have a great show. And he'll probably be quiet because he really liked. I think he liked this episode too. So we might not hear from Ruben. But Ruben, your comments are welcome. You're also welcome on this show because you're not gonna like tear down my beloved Picard. You can't do it on this show. No, just kidding. You're always invited. Joel says I like this one more because of the awesome evasive maneuvers. Those were really cool. Crazy Space Monk, yes. Let's have Uhura learn all the salty language for each planet they visit and have Spock remark about how her language is currently laced with more colorful
Colourful
metaphors.
metaphors.
Sam gives off Bill Paxton vibes, and a lot of people are comparing him to Guy on
Yeah,
Galaxy
it's more
Quest.
guy. Yeah, it's more guy for me than Bill Paxton.
So yeah, lots of that's a lot of fun. If I were Uhura, I would keep a side eye on Ortega. uh, Marcelo, what'd you think of this episode overall?
I thought it was good. But the first time watching the episode, there were little things that really bothered me from a structural standpoint. But the second time watching the episode, I found that those structural things
Were
really
explained.
were explained decently to the point where I didn't want to, scream Akiba's name in effigy while I was watching the episode.
Wow.
Um,
By the way,
but
you would scream his name in effigy, so you would create an effigy of him or set it on fire, like
oh,
with by screaming his name.
you have you have no idea how many times I have cursed Akiva's name during watching Star
Dang.
Trek. You have no idea.
Harsh, harsh.
But my main issue with this episode, I have two main issues. I don't like the way that characters' backstories are given to us so far in the series, and I find the last minute solution by the Enterprise crew to break off the comet from the planet to be like a little stretching it. That's where I called bullshit. The fact that the fact that the fact that the harmonic shield remnants from the shuttle would break up an entire goddamn comet
It
was
was not harmonic shields. You're thinking of earlier.
yeah, well,
Ortega says that she could vary the phasers
yeah,
to match the
yeah,
harmonics of the shield of the
yeah,
shepherds. What
yeah.
he's doing is he's like basically creating a like he's causing
The heat
the
shield
shields
thing.
to become a heat radiator, I guess. And
Right,
so
right,
that
Yeah.
actually is what cuts through the comet, and that makes
right.
sense because the comet's made of ice. So to
I
me,
yeah,
that made
I
sense.
yeah, I understand that, but for me, still, whether you call it a heat radiator or whatever, that really didn't work for me. The positives about this episode, I love that we are actually getting to sit with the crew and know who these people are, even if we don't get character backstory on these people. I love the fact that we got to sit down and have a meal with these people. Um, so I think that is where Strange New Worlds has it over some other Star Trek shows that we've seen recently that don't do character development at all and just expect us to accept certain character interactions with one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
What about you,
So
I,
Ian?
th-
Overall thoughts
I,
and
I, I'm sort of on a counterbalance to that. I'm actually liking the slower pace, whereas Discovery and everything else seems to be at 100 mile an hour,
yeah.
whereas Strange New Worlds isn't. And I think, as much as, don't get me wrong, I like Picard, I like Discovery, but I think it could take a lesson out of the Strange New Worlds pacing a bit. It. Yes, you can have 100 mile an hour episodes, but it can, you can fluctuate. It doesn't have to be constant.
Mm,
Everything's got to be at speed. Allow the characters to breathe and interact, like
mm,
as Marcelo said, that we're seeing the whole that open the opening scene in the captain's cabin for dinner at the captain's table was a brilliant scene,
mhm.
and seeing the interaction that there is this bit. But I am really liking it. I think for me, the only thing that if I want to be pernickety about it, was the whole bit with the shields. It gets hit, it's down to 70%. It gets hit again, it's down to 50%, and it's going down, and it gets hit about 20, 30 times, but the shields are still there. But I'm being really pernickety now. I'm really saying that. But the rest of it, I thoroughly enjoyed. I love the interaction
I actually caught that.
between.
I actually caught that on the episode. My take on it was that it's kind of like a thing that you always see in Star Trek. So I wonder if they just hammed it up a little too much. You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah,
I wonder if they emphasized it a little too much. Because I feel like it's always the case. Like the Enterprise is always going to be down to like 10% shields, but that last
yeah,
10% somehow, somehow is enough
yeah,
to get her through. But yeah, I know what you
yeah.
mean.
That bit was there, but I think when it's going through the debris field, to me, that was more realistic. Yes, you missed all the big ones, but the little ones are still going to hit the ship. So I like that bit, but it was just a bit that it was everybody was it was going down and down and down. And when they start doing it, it's like 10% shields and everything else. But the rest of it, I loved it. As I said, I loved the interaction at the start, all the way through it. To be honest, and there's that line, isn't it, Sam? That if you're not going to boast about the talking with the about the languages, don't bring it up type thing. When they're trying to work out about the egg, there was a
Yeah.
few good lines in there, and as I said before we went on there, for me, there was two callbacks to two TOS episodes. The one was obviously Operation Annihilate when Sam gets blasted across from the egg and they turn him over, and it's very similar to Operation Annihilate when you first see Sam Kirk. Unfortunately, he's dead in that one, and the Paradise Syndrome because the Enterprise in that one is trying to stop a comet from hitting the planet as well. So for me, those were the two TOS episodes that I saw the callbacks on. There was sort of the Easter egg, as it were.
It seems like they're gonna do a little like a character highlight in these first few episodes, or at least in
Yeah, I
this
think
first
so.
season, because
Yeah.
we seem to be getting this was like a very Uhura centered episode. I also like that this was like one of the things I think that we all associate Uhura with is her singing ability, and so I like that this was also like a musical episode in a weird way, not like musical in the sense of like oh, hold on, sorry guys.
Oh,
Yeah, he mentioned Ahura, and that's another issue that I had. I didn't like the way that they introduced that little tick of Ahura starting to sing. Like, if you wanted to do that, you could have had her stand up from the breakfast table where she was at and go over and get a drink like she did in the scene. But before she starts humming, you could have just had her twitch her fingers together or something like that to indicate that her singing, the whole singing thing, was a sort of defense system that she sort of brought up when she was nervous or she was uncomfortable. If
You
they
know,
did that,
yeah.
if they did that, I would have bought her starting to sing to try and figure out how to get this egg open up.
Marcelo,
Also,
I
another
kind of think that scene that you're referring to, it for me anyways, like Celia Gooding is so expressive that I could sense her nervousness through her eyes and like her like body language in general. So like
yeah,
I know that like to me it would have been a little cliche if she was like tapping her fingers nervously. I think I like it better the way that what I perceived was that
mhm,
they did it through her like body language and just like the fact that she departed the table and Pike kind of like walked over and
right.
that was an interesting scene. But anyways, carry on. Sorry.
I unlike you, I thought that Celia Gooding was a little bit overly flat in this episode. I don't know if it was the
Wow, that's
writing
interesting.
or the way
Really?
that she was.
Yeah, I think she's a standout. Like she's so
Yeah.
expressive and like the way she speaks too, she's so articulate for me. So yeah, I mean
Yeah, I
I respect your opinion, but I
right.
don't see it personally.
But for me, she just came off as flat, uninterested, a little nervous, obviously, because it was her first away mission. But for Mai Ohura, I would have preferred her to be a little bit more, give the illusion of self confidence by having a little bit more aliveness in her voice when she speaks. But she just has like, in this episode, she just had a really one note sort of like flat tone to me. Well, obviously, I'm the only one that started on the panel, but that really didn't
Mm.
work for me or play for me particularly well. Perhaps in later episodes, as she gets more confidence, she'll be that the archetype of a horror that I thought I that I see in my head.
Well, continuing with what I was
Yeah.
saying was I really enjoyed that the composer Nami Mulamed, I hope I'm saying her name right, got to also be a highlight in this episode because the accompanying music I thought was very beautiful, especially the music they created for the cave she created for the cave and stuff like that. It I took particular note of it. Also, the theme song for the Deleb, the people on the planet. There's a little motif there that I caught, and I thought that was lovely. So I was delighted both or like orally and visually by this episode. You know, I think it was really well done, and I'm excited. I'm so excited about getting the soundtrack to this. I think she's a star. I think she's like. I can't wait till she gets to do her own theme as well. But yeah, overall, this was like such a good episode. Let's go right into talking about the Deleb. What did you guys think of these guys and the whole story of them? I One of the things that I really enjoyed about this is that they're like a kind of like I guess they're kind of like a Stone Age, maybe agricultural, early agriculture type of point in their development as a species, and it reminded me of depictions of comets in human history. I don't know if you guys recognize these depictions, but the one in the
That's the
lower
Bayer. That's the Bayer tapestry on the one on the right for
on the right, yeah. So
1066.
that's from 1066.
Yeah,
And then the one there that you see is from 1532. And so, you know, comets have always had this kind of like wonderful, but also foreboding quality, especially in ancient human history. And I really thought that that was a cool reference when they showed this comet, like what's gonna happen, you know. And you do see that the characters, the Denebs seem to fear it. You know, they seem to be very like, you know, worried about what this might be. But yeah, what'd you guys think of all that?
I personally didn't think that there was enough about the people on the planet for me to care. I mean, I understood why they were there to sort of like frame the dilemma of what the Enterprise was facing, but I didn't think that they did any development on the people on the planet to make us really care about about the asteroid going into the planet. Except, of course, we don't want the asteroid to go into the planet because it's going to kill a human race. But I would have preferred to see much more of them and their culture a little bit. Like if they would have like spliced in a little bit more scenes to see how their culture works a little bit, to hear their language, to hear how to hear how they perceive the comment a little bit more. I would have appreciated that.
I think it's
yeah. I mean,
interesting. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say with the little that they used, I don't think it moved the story along. This little bit, I think that you could have had it the whole episode, and you could talk about them, which they did. But I didn't think that it really pushed the story along. It just showed that there was people there, and they could see the comet. But that's as far as it went. And yes, of course, you know, they're all happy with it. They saw the rain, but there wasn't. It was like they thought it felt a little bit of a bit of an add-on, just to say let's just show some of the inhabitants of the planet. It didn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel a little bit organic with those.
It wasn't necessary, really.
No,
Like you could.
yeah, yeah, I don't think it was you didn't need it as a vehicle for
No.
the episode. I don't think.
You
Mm-mm.
mean the whole
No,
The Deleb species, you mean?
yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
seeing the Deleb, you could talk about the Deleb, and you would know they were. I mean, Star Trek is through. They've done it in TOS, TNG. They've done there that they've talked about these races, but you didn't necessarily have to see them
Right. I think of
to
that
know
as
they were
like
there.
I think of that as like because yeah, they couldn't really make the aliens every week or whatever, and I guess television was different back then. Like today, we like to show. I guess you're right. It wouldn't have been something that we necessarily needed. I liked it. I liked it though. I thought it was cool because just
Yeah,
their like design was interesting. I thought.
yeah, the design was interesting. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but I still think as an audience, I think that they forget that we still all do have imaginations, and we can imagine what the alien is going to be on the planet. You don't need to see everything. When you use your imagination, that tends to give a little bit more drama and everything as well. I find so.
I
Yeah,
I do think
great designs.
for me in particular, like seeing the Deleb, especially the child, made me feel more for their plight personally. So I kind of liked it, and I think we do still have a lot of mystery around them. I mean, I don't think we ever see this species again. Certainly Persephone, as we pointed out, Persephone 3 the Persephone system comes up again in Star Trek: The Next Generation, with
Sector
Admiral,
6, yeah.
yeah, Admiral Jameson is on Persephone 5, I think, actually, and he's
Oh,
semi-retired there. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool thing personally. But you're right. Like if they cut it out, I mean, like it wouldn't have hurt the episode. I don't think. Certainly,
yeah.
just referring to them. But we did have like we do have this ability now, with the sensors. It's cool. You can they can spy on them like satellites. Actually, like you can get really close.
Yeah.
We saw that last time in New Eden. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So we would have seen them anyways, just like from a different perspective, I think. So you
Mm.
could have actually still accomplished the same thing with those overhead spy shots, and just getting glimpses of them from the bridge, I think.
Mm. Yeah, as I said, I mean, it was good. It was a. It's probably one of those things that it was a nice to have on the list of the when they're looking at the episode, but I don't think it was necessarily needed to push the episode along.
I think the cool thing about this episode, the other cool thing, many cool things, is that we start off with a cadet's log. I don't think I remember another time starting out with the cadet's log, but that was really cute. How she's like talking about how things are pretty routine right now. She felt like she was pretty safe, like that she wouldn't have to go down to any missions or anything like that, like, and that she was going to this captain's dinner, the captain's table, which by the way she does. There was some debate online whether it's his cabin or his mess hall. She does say it's the captain's cabin that she's going to, so that is in
Mm.
fact Captain Pike's cabin. And it's quite luxurious, like which I love actually. But yeah, he's got some big quarters there. But what did you guys think of meeting Hemmer for the first time, and just this whole scene of like having a captain's table, dinner at the captain's cabin, etc.
Meeting Hemmer was awesome. I really got a
Yeah.
Odo vibe off of Hemmer for some reason. Hemmer is going to be such a delight watching him interact with able-bodied seeing people and watching him be possibly smarter and make the calls that able-bodied people wouldn't see. Like I previously said in my opening comments, I like the fact that we're getting to know these characters on a more relaxed setting in a more 90s style Star Trek. The fact that we're sitting with these people and just hearing them talk about whatever just
Mm.
makes me so happy, because in Discovery by this point Micah Burnham would have gone down to the planet and gone pew 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 already. um yeah,
Marcel,
so
you can do this if you want to, but let's try not to compare Strange New Worlds to any of the other Star Trek shows. But if you have to, you're totally welcome to. But I just think it like, just like it. There's such different shows that to me personally, I don't like really care to compare them. But if you need
okay,
to, go
so
ahead and do so.
okay, so I like this sort of r- type of Star Trek writing as to opposed to other iterations of the series. Very much.
I think sort of backing up what Marcelo was saying, I think seeing this and seeing the crew interact. I mean, seeing Hemmer was brilliant, and I think you're right, Odo, because he's going to be like the slightly grumpy one of the lot. I do quite get that one. I think you become more invested with the crew. I think you're saying about you can't say, but we're talking about Star Trek in general. I think you didn't. It wasn't until season two where you really got to know the Discovery crew's names. Because Pike said, "I want to know who I'm dealing with," and it was Pike that turned and said, "Give us your names. Ranks don't matter."
Yeah,
But you don't.
I see that as like illustrating the difference between a real Starfleet captain versus a mirror universe version. Like I think Lorca could care less about any of the people, and that's what Discovery sees. If we're going to talk about Discovery, I might as well just point out that like that's the whole vibe of Discovery. I think it was very intentional that we didn't get to meet the crew. It made everyone uncomfortable, as it should, because I think that was a clever device to show the difference between Lorca, and then when we get Pike, we have a real actual Starfleet captain, not only a Starfleet captain, but one of the best, like a legend as far as captains go. and so he quickly heals the crew from their trauma from Lorca's kind of like leadership. So for me, not knowing the crew actually ends up working when you see how impactful it is in season 2. But yes,
Yeah.
I will. Again, you're told it's not that I don't want to compare it to Discovery.
No, no,
It's
no,
just
no, no.
let's try to,
It's
like let's
yeah.
try to
It's
keep it to Strange New Worlds.
but I think it's an example of how this is better. How I think we're a lot of us are becoming really invested with
Yeah.
this crew, this cast, only in 2 episodes. I think it shows it just there is just something really familiar about we do like familiar, and I am not panning Discovery. I'm just saying it's just different, and
Yeah.
I actually like the way it's done here in Strange New Worlds. And I think I think a lot of us will become very invested in these characters quite quickly.
What did you guys think of the hazing of the newbie part? I wanted to ask you guys about that because to me, I didn't. I like Uhura certainly is like very offended by it, but Ortega seems to be like lighten up, cadet. It's just part of the thing.
Well, it was the
What?
bingo, wasn't it? It's the
Yeah, the
cadet
bingo card
bingo.
or whatever.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
do you guys think of the hazing?
I did not
It's it's
care.
it's,
Like
it's one of
like
those things that happen.
yep.
Sorry, Marcelo, you go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I did not care one iota if Uhura was offended. It's like one of those things that happen like on sports teams. The new guy always got to carry the bags to the car for a couple months, and even in the military,
Mm.
the new person to the unit gets tased for like a while until they prove themselves in a specific situation, and that's when they become a member of the family. They don't become a member of the family right away. So the fact that Erica decided to play a joke on young Uhura didn't bother me at all.
I always love when Marcel is on a first name basis with the characters.
Actually, yeah, there's a reason why I said Erica, and I'll explain off air if you guys want to know.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Okay.
it's one of those things. I mean, I'm ex-military and everything else. Yes, it happens, but a lot of it is done in a light-hearted way. And this one is, when it's being done to you, it does get up your nose, and it does sort of upset you a tiny bit. But it's something you accept. But you could see the straight away that her changing stance when Pike, the doors open. He goes, the dress uniform, yeah, nice one. And it's because it's shown because when it happens to you, it's like it's only you it happens to. But when Pike says, you've got the best out of it, you realise everybody goes through it. As much as Ortega would turn around and say, I went through it. I was a cadet once as well. But when the captain turned around and said, good one, you you saw her relax, and it's that it was just part of everyday life. But I do like the line when Ortega says, "Well, it is a small ship," and
And
Uhura looks around and goes, "No, it's not."
it's interesting also, it's a good reminder that at this time, the crew complement of the Enterprise is only about 200 plus folks, but by Kirk's time, they
Four
increased the crew
hundred, yeah.
complement to 400 something, which actually, now that you think of it, like these expansive spaces and cabins, it makes total sense that the Enterprise is going to get refitted at some point, because doubling your crew complement means you've got to get rid of some of these luxurious spaces and like reduce them down.
Yeah.
So poor Kirk, poor Kirk cannot host any dinner parties like this, like a lavish one. But they do have a
Yeah.
mess hall in
Yeah.
TOS where they host events and things like that. So yeah, that's cool. Going
Yeah.
back to Hemmer for a
I'm,
second.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Starfleet boy, but can we stop comparing to other episodes of the series, please?
Well, ha ha ha.
Bazinga!
That wasn't a
Bazinga!
comparison. That was a
It was.
continuity
It was.
connection.
I know. I'm only joking.
I was trying to link the two, not compare
I
them. So,
know. I know.
but haha. Anyways, going back to Hemmer for going back to Hemmer for a second, I thought it was really interesting how he talked about how people perceive, especially humanoids, perceived his blindness as an impairment. But to him, it's not an impairment because actually his species have evolved in this way. So,
Yeah.
what did you guys think of this statement here with regards to disabilities?
Well, he did
Well,
say his other bits were superior, didn't they? He said his other senses were superior.
Right, not compensating, but that they were
Yeah,
superior.
they
Right,
were superior. Yeah,
Marcelo.
well, as a person with an ability, when he said that, I was like, I kind of wanted to stand up and say, "Hell yeah!"
Nice, I love it.
yeah,
Because 99% of the time when people meet me and when they look at me for the first time, they go, "This guy looks a disaster. We can't trust him with anything because he's disabled." And the second I turn around and start acting like any old member of the people that I'm with, they go, "Oh, this guy is disabled, but he's all there." So I love that moment of surprise when people prejudge me and then they find out that I'm just like they are, for lack of a better word. That to me is often delicious. And I think Hammer is going to get a lot of those moments where he can prove himself and he can show the crew that although he's uh, impaired, he can function better than they can in some situations in some aspects.
yeah.
Right on.
I also think that actually casting a technically a blind actor to play the role just gives it that little bit more authenticity instead of having a just a normal sighted person. I do. There's just something about that I like. I think it's brilliant that they've done that. But also, this he is only the third Einar that we've seen on screen.
Mm-hmm.
You've only saw two in Enterprise, and
Right,
he
that's
is the
right.
third.
So we're gonna get
So yeah,
a lot more information
yeah,
about the NR and stuff like that.
yeah. And
Let's
I like the bit with Spock. They were saying that Spock telepathically told him he was going to throw it, and he caught it. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was pretty
brilliant.
cool. I like that a lot. I also like when
Yeah,
she's like, did you know I was gonna say that because of your precognition?" And he's like, "No, it's just
no,
because
this
everyone
is
asked
it.
the same question." So it was like a different
Yeah,
form of predictability. On
but
text
she does
track,
get her
they
own back.
yeah,
She gets her own back, doesn't she? Because she speaks
she
to him
said
in his
in his
language, and
language, and
then
then to
says to Spock
Spock.
in his in Vulcan.
Seriously, yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah,
I also
yeah,
like that this is kind of like a mini version of the entire story with the the idea of like things that you know ahead of time versus destiny versus like shaping your own future. So like
mm,
there's a little bit of that going on here. Let's move on to Uhura's tragedy and her reason for joining Starfleet. In the dinner scene, it gets really intense at one point because Pike asks Uhura about herself and why she kind of reveals that she's not really a Starfleet type, if you will, and that kind of offends everyone. I liked all the expressions in the room when she said that. Like, I thought of you, Marcelo, in particular. By the way, I wondered how your reaction was to that scene. But then she explains that she had this really bad incident where she lost her mother, father, and older brother in a shuttle accident. She was raised by her grandmother, who was in Starfleet, so she kind of just ran away to Starfleet because it made sense, and that's what she kind of grew up hearing about from her gran. Um, but then Pike is kind of moved by her honesty. Like at first, it's like jarring, like, why are you here? But he says, I like that scene where he actually says, like, I appreciate your honesty and whatever you end up doing, I hope you find your home. Like, he's very encouraging of her. And I think it's interesting because, you know, up until this point, pretty much everyone we meet wants to be in Starfleet, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a new twist on Uhura's character, and I think it also echoes, interestingly, Nichelle Nichols. Her own sentiments when she was thinking of leaving Star Trek, and then we know the famous conversation she had with Dr. King,
mm,
where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where he encourages her to stay on the show because of the significance and importance of a black woman being on TV on a major television show, not in a serving role, but rather in a role of power and command, of like actual station and equality among her peers. So she ended up doing it, and I'm so glad for it because of course we love Nichelle Nichols. But yeah, my thoughts were I thought this was a brilliant new twist plus addition to the Uhura character. What did you guys think? Marcel, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, well, first when she said, "I'm not really sure if I want to be in Starfleet," I was like, "Damn you, get off my bridge!" Um, but
I can I would love to see a Marcelo captain show. It would be really I would think it would be really fun to watch.
but this goes back to an earlier point that I made on the stream. In these two episodes, we've gotten character backstory in the way that I don't like it presented as a creative individual myself. I would have had the same character backstories, but I would have had these backstories be given to us in actual situations rather than the character just saying, "Hey, the reason why I'm here is because all my family died in a shuttle accident, and Starfleet was a thing that was in my family through my aunt." So I was like, you know what? In a way to deal with my grief, I'm just gonna go here and try to find myself. I would have had that come out organically within a situation in the show and then have her explain why she acts in this particular way by then telling us her backstory and explaining some of her reactions in a particular situation. But then again, that's me. If it played great for everybody else, fine. But I didn't particularly like the way that her backstory was sort of just given to us in this interaction with Captain Pike.
I actually disagree, and the reason I disagree is this was more natural. You
Okay.
find where you're in, when you're working with people and everything like that, sometimes when you outside of that work environment, where it may be like you've gone out for an evening as a team and everything, it's those type of scenarios where you tend to find a bit more about the people that you work with. So that's how I disagree slightly, Marcelo,
Okay.
is because it felt a little, to me it felt more natural, because
Okay.
I've seen that happen in real life, that um, you will be out and you'll be having a drink, or you're just chatting, even if it's just out for a coffee, that you do find out about people and something that's happened to them in that bit. So when you
Right.
say, oh, why did you join the Air Force, or why did you join Starfleet, why did you join the Army, the Navy, that's
Right.
when those type of things maybe will come out.
Also,
So
Okay.
Marcelo,
I thought it was
her maybe her just the thought, her casualness, or just like her like comfort with sharing the story in this group of people that she's just getting to know might be an indicator that she is in fact addressed her trauma, and kind of like maybe it's something she wants people to know, but it's not necessarily something that hurts her, or like that she needs to deal with. So maybe
Right.
we only see it here. I do like that the statement that because it's true. Impressive and heartbreaking story is what Pike's reaction to it is. Spock, on the other hand, doesn't have the quite the same reaction, and he kind of talks to her afterwards and leaves her. This is the scene here, and he kind of leaves her shook because he makes that statement of like, to people who have like devoted their life to Starfleet, this is such an important thing. Maybe if this is not for you, you should make room for, or make way for someone who does want this opportunity and is
Exactly
here,
my point. Get off my bridge. If you don't want to be here,
yeah,
get off. No, I'm kidding.
so
Get
so
off.
yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing that from Pike's perspective, he's kind of being, he's also, they're all a little surprised, but he's trying to be encouraging and open-minded. But Spock feels a little butthurt, I felt like, in the scene, and like lets her know about it. Of course he comes around later and we'll talk about that, but I thought this was a cool scene. I thought this was interesting, and I like the way it was framed with her kind of alone, when he leaves, and she's just kind of left there to think about it. And it comes up later. She actually like throws that back at him when she can't figure out the comet. I mean the Mahanit's the algorithm or whatever. When she's trying to figure it out, she's having doubts because she's like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be here and stuff like that. So pretty cool. Let's move on to the scene where Pike and number one are talking, and this is like part of a conversation that starts where basically, I think this is going to be Pike's arc, of course, is that, he knows his future, he knows his destiny. And here he reveals that he even knows the names of the people that he's going to save. Like, he knows a lot of details about it. So it seems like an inescapable thing for him. And number one's just really kind of like concerned and not accepting that. What did you guys think of this scene? And how, I personally love the way Rebecca Romaine is interpreting number one. I think she's just perfect personally, and I really enjoy their relationship. It feels like a very like Captain and his XO type of relationship, but also that they're friends.
Yeah, again, I love the character moments that we have gotten in the series so far, because I think character moments like these and character moments with them around the table, and some moments from the first episode, when things start really happening to these people later down the road, I think we're going to feel it a lot more because of small little intimate moments like this. And I think that's just a credit to Henry Alonso Myers, who co-wrote this episode, to put in these small moments where our characters really try and help one another and try and help each other over, situations and dramatic experiences, and try to really get to know each other. And the chemistry between Rebecca Romaine and Anson Mount is on point, and I just love the scene so much.
Mm.
Ian, what do you think of
Yeah,
the whole exchange?
yeah. I mean, obviously, it was triggered over, when Pike was questioning Uhura because he stumbled over the 10 years. Because he said, "How do you feel over the 10 years?" And it's sort of there, and he stumbles over
Mm-hmm.
that. But I think the way these two play it, it feels like they've known each other for such a long period of time, for years and years and years, and they have that trust between them. She can call him Chris. Um, it's so well played, and I think they both play it. The two actors really at the top of their game, playing these roles, and it's a joy to watch.
Mhm.
I totally agree. We enter next Mahanit. We don't know it's Mahanit yet, but we start to get a debriefing of the comet. And here's the scene that I was talking about. Like, again, I think that the Deleb should have been in the episode. I agree with Father and some of the other folks in the audience that it did make me care about them more. But we could have also just gotten this scene and we would have learned everything we need to know. This little
Mm.
exposition scene here. So we find out that the comet is going to crash into this planet Persephone 3, and that would destroy the civilization, the developing civilization. So they decide that they need to do something about it. So they're going to launch torpedoes to latch onto the comet and then move it, which was, I think, whose idea was it? Spock's idea, maybe?
No,
Uh,
that was Laan's idea.
oh, it was Lon's
Fire
idea.
the
Lahan.
Cool.
phaser.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, and she
because
volunteers. That's right.
she says, "Oh, it'll only take an hour," and whichever turns around, I said, "Well, that's a bit choice, because since it's me that's got to make the changes to the torpedo."
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely brilliant, brilliant.
But anyways, the plan doesn't work, and I love this shot of Pike. He's like so excited at first, like, oh, this is gonna go. This is very routine, and then all of a sudden there's shields on the comet, and then his face suddenly turns to like, oh crap, like what? I didn't expect that. Um,
Yeah, where does a comet get to produce shields? Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting, take on the whole surprise, like it's not going to be what you think, type of thing. And then, we of course we get this like this briefing room sequence here where we get basically we learn that there's a structure on the comet, and that it looks like it was built by an ancient civilization of some kind, and so they decide that they're going to have to go down there and actually investigate and see if there's a way to access whatever technology there is to be able to move the comet. And we get our next appearance of Sam Kirk, uh, which will be brief because he's sidelined. So he's sidelined in episode 1 because he didn't make it. He and Hemmer didn't make it on time to get on the ship for the first mission, and then he's sidelined in here because he's knocked out, unfortunately. But I love the exchange between Pike and Sam about the mustache. I thought that was really funny, and also Uhura's reaction. I captured the screenshot of her giving the side eye. Was just priceless about it. Mustaches. Where do you guys land on mustaches? Like personally.
I'm a guy that says if you want to do the facial hair thing, you gotta go like Ian here or this shit. Like no, you
No
gotta just
mustache.
you
No.
gotta you gotta go full Spock or nothing at all.
Yeah.
Full bearded Spock or nothing at all. Um,
Well, yeah, the moustache bit was obviously the
yeah,
Navy is full beard, the Army and the Air Force is moustache only.
yeah.
Oh, really? Is
But
that right?
Yeah. Well, it
yeah,
is in the UK anyway. I don't know about America, but for the Royal Navy, Royal Air Force, and the Army, it's if you're in the Navy, it's beard or nothing, and then obviously with the Air Force and the Army, it's a moustache, but you have to ask permission to grow it.
That's
yeah.
interesting. Well, he must have gotten permission to
Yeah.
grow it,
Um,
even though Starfleet's not a military.
Bullshit. No, he's lying. He's lying. It's really military. It's really military. Let's do this. No, actually, you lie. You lie. You lie. No, but just a little add on with this scene. I again, this is a scene that I really really love, and why do I really really love it? Because it harkens back to previous iterations of something that all of us love and have gotten that sort of some of us have missed in other iterations, and it's just really cool to see these characters say, "Okay, we have a problem. Let's sit down and have a conference about it, and then figure out what we're going to do about it."
Mm.
So yeah, I just love this briefing scene. So yeah,
It's very
I think this is
chill.
where I think this is where we're saying that we like the pacing of it. It doesn't have to be at 100
yes, the
mile an
pace.
hour all the time,
Yes, yes,
and
you took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, pace.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
it's
Ian.
you can have this. That's okay, and you can have these bits. You can have the interaction and everything. It just feels it's I think well I think we said it. It feels like home. It's that type
Yep.
thing,
hmm
and that's why I think so many people are liking Strange New Worlds.
It has a specific feel to it that
Mm,
that other things don't have. Um,
yeah.
yeah. So that's it.
Here we have the scene where Chapel again is injecting everyone with. She likes to poke people with her hypo spray here. But we get some flirtation between Chapel and Spock, and Uhura takes note of it and mentions it later. Where do you guys think this is going? How do you feel about it? And of course, we know from TOS where it doesn't end up being anything. There is a heartfelt moment between Nurse Chapel and Spock where he tells her he can't feel those feelings for her in TOS. But what do you think of this this version of it, or seeing more color to that relationship here?
I do think that it would be really interesting just to tick off a whole set of people. Uh, if um, if there was a semi relationship between Chapel and Spock, and to see what that would do to somebody like Spock, who is so loyal and so he's such a kind guy, especially to Pring. And I just want to see what a Chapel and Spock relationship would look like, and see what that would do to him, and to see how he would rationalize his feelings for Christine and rationalize his feelings for T'Pring. In on the other hand, but
So
that
interesting.
may
He's engaged to Pring. So you're saying you'd like to see like a little tension placed upon that,
yeah
by maybe like Spock acting on on Christine's feelings or something like that. Is that what you're saying? Like an
yeah
actual affair, so that later that's
no no
interesting
yeah
because later
yeah
that might give T'Pring a little more. That might make T'Pring a little more sympathetic
yeah
in Amok Time because Amok Time. Sorry, I keep saying it wrong, but in Amok Time because we wouldn't see her as quite the as quite the
yeah
villain because she maybe like lost interest in Spock because he showed interest in someone else. That's interesting.
that's exactly what I would like. The only bit about this scene that I didn't like is when Uhura said, she implied that Chapel and Spock were dating, and Spock was like, "No, I'm not dating Chapel. I'm married." I was like, "You're a goddamn ensign, and for you to say that to a superior officer, really? That's kind of like that's none of your
Is
business."
that sheer fucking hubris, Marcelo? Is that what it
No,
is?
I don't. I wasn't gonna go there.
Is it? Is it? Is that
I was
what
like,
it is?
I felt that was a horror, like sort of stepping a little bit too far over the command line, so to speak. But that's really tiny.
Right on.
I'm going to comment on what Amy said in the chat. She said she felt the flirting was jarring because Spock's engaged. Now, Christine Chapel is flirting with Spock. Spock doesn't even realise that she's
Move.
flirting.
Right until later when Uhura
It's
points
not
it
until
out. Yeah.
Uhura says something. So I don't know how. I'm not quite getting it. I'm not quite seeing how it's jarring in that respect because how much does Christine know about Spock? We, nobody's going to know that he's got a sister in this.
I really like this. Chapel is
So
kind
he's
of a dominatrix walking around inflicting pain. Sorry, go on.
inflicting pain. But yeah, I mean that's where it is. She's flirting with him, but he is totally oblivious to it all because
He
he's not
does seem
get
oblivious to it until later when he does
he's
seem a
really
little
not he's
surprised.
really
Yeah.
not getting it. Yeah, he's really not getting it. So that's how I'm finding it.
I like this
But
sentiment here. Surely monogamy won't be the norm in 23rd century. We need to see more open relationships in Star Trek. I am all for making it canonical that Spock is polyamorous and bisexual. I would love that. So, that would be pretty cool. And that he and T'Pring are cool with in an open relationship. That would be a neat little twist, also. So who knows? We'll see where it goes. But I do
yeah,
think they're gonna play.
I don't think
I do think
that's
they're
not
gonna
going to
play it
happen.
the normal route, like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
Marcelo had suggested. I think is
But
going to be the thing.
going back to Christine with the Uhura, I do quite like it. Where she does it. And ow! Why didn't you say it's going to hurt? Well, if I told you it was going to hurt, you'd be flinching away from it. I don't want that. I don't want that.
So I got my
But
Star Trek Strange New Worlds husband in just for fun,
oh, it's calm.
as well as so what do you guys think of the design of Mohanit and the whole comet scene and just everything that was going on down below on the planet?
It could be taken so many
I mean,
different
I
sorry, on
really
the
ways.
comet.
yeah I really like the design of the little chamber that the comet was in. But if you guys watched the Ready Room episode, that whole chamber was actually the AR wall.
Yes.
Um, so I really found that impressive, and I really loved the design of what was being projected on the AR wall. And this is the moment where when I watched the episode the first time, I wasn't paying attention, and Spock actually scans the structure and he says, "Oh, there's oxygen within the chamber." So I missed that. So
I missed that.
when Kirk's brother walks up to the goddamn egg, I'm like, "You idiot!" And when he gets thrown, and when he gets thrown back, I'm like, "That's what you deserve." But when Lahan said take his helmet off, I was like, "What are you doing? You guys are in space."
I
Yeah,
like that
so
he
I
says
think that
Yahtzee. Did
yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
Yeah.
ever
yeah.
play Yahtzee, by the way?
Yeah, yeah, but I, so my first reaction was to that was like, what are you doing? You're gonna kill him, because I just missed that line. But I did like Kirk's brother being knocked on his ass, because I think that he is gonna be, for a large part, for many episodes, he's gonna be the joke, and then in one episode he's going to do something, and that's where he's going to prove his brass to the rest of the crew, and that's
Hmm.
when they're going to start to take him, that's when we're
More
going to start to see
seriously.
him, that's when we're going to start to see him assert himself more seriously. And
Speaking
he's
of
going to,
knowing your fate, as an audience, we actually know poor Sam's fate. He does
oh
die
yeah,
in Operation Annihilate, which
yeah.
Ian mentioned earlier, and so we do learn his fate. So I thought this was an interesting. It was pointed out, I think, on our spaces by one of our audience, one of the folks who came up on stage and
Right.
talked about it. But yeah, I thought that was pretty profound, that the shot almost like, yeah, I twisted the other shot a little bit,
Yeah.
but the shot has a very similar vibe to
It does.
to the shot that reveals that it's his
Yeah.
brother.
I think anybody. I think anybody who likes TOS go. It's Operation Annihilate. He's just.
Yeah.
It was just that reenactment.
That reenactment. Also, is Sam Kirk the lovable idiot of the show? Is that what he is?
No,
I don't think he's an idiot. What? Well, he's lovable, definitely. He's not an idiot because, but okay, he did that. That bit was an idiotic thing about touching the egg, but he says a few things which really sort of gives Uhura a little bit of confidence, because she's going, "Oh, I shouldn't be here. I'm this," and he turns around and said, "You're here on your own. You know
Yeah.
everything that
Volition.
you know.
You're
You're
here
here
for a
for a
reason. You're here
reason.
for a reason. Yeah, he did
You're
have
here
that nice
for
moment.
yeah. You're here for your own volition." That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
So, he said, and you could see that it. There's a few things that happen along this bit. Pike, the Spock later, the Sam. I mean, Spock's pet pot talks have got a lot to be desired. We all know that, but Sam says this, and you can see these little things just give her that little bit more confidence. And yeah, I really do like it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I know another thing that I loved about the scene is when they entered the chamber for the first time, you got to see the lights inside their helmets, inside their
Mm,
environment suits, light up, and it was very similar to Prometheus, like the helmets and the
Mm.
whole
yeah.
cave. And I even said when I was watching this with one of my friends, I was like, I'll pay $1 million if they kill Kirk's brother right now with a chest burster thing. like, like
That's
I
funny.
would have like I would have lost my mind if this thing would have opened up and you see like this alien looking creature just immediately go to Kirk's brother and go, "What?" That would have been so cool. But it
I
didn't
tell you,
happen.
with the size of that egg, I would hate to see the face hugger on that one. That would
Oh
have
my
been
gosh,
Yeah.
that would be
huge.
insane. Yeah. Giant face hugger. Father said, well, we did get a giant one, right? In Prometheus, it was like this crazy, ugh, it creeps me
Yeah.
out. Them Kirk boys leap before they look, but only Jim is really good at it. Kind of like how David Marcus tried to cheat like his pops and use protomatter, but it bit him in the ass in the end. Oh, that's so sad. It's true. Death by rubber vomit is the worst. That's true. He did die by rubber. I never thought about it like that. And then Sam Kirk is the South Park Kenny of the show. Yeah, maybe he's gonna get like beat up a lot.
My God, you
Interesting.
killed Kenny.
You kill Kitty.
But it turns out it looks like Uhura might be the only key to their escape, indeed. So, enter next. We get a little bit more. See, again, I like that. That's why I like this whole going down to the planet, because it's just a reminder that there's actual people down there kind of worried, and it's just, again, like, to me it may not have been like to me the episode may have worked without it, but I just like the callbacks. It just, because it reminded me of like human history itself and how humans once viewed comets, like superstitions and stuff like that. I thought it was a clever little tie-in, but I do love the design of the Persephone aliens. They have a really cool, I like the eyes, and like that they have like a kind of reptilian vibe to them with the spikes,
Mm.
and stuff like that. And the fact that they're on this like arid world. But then, okay, so now enter the shepherds,
Shepherds.
and so we get this like very interesting kind of species that they're basically, well, who put it earlier, crazy space monks, right?
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, they've been following around Mohanit, this what he calls the, I think he calls it the arbiter, and that like he says that once there were many, now there are few, or something like that. They're like ancient, and his species is just kind of shepherds them along and follows the arbiter around on its missions, and he explains that, you know, that's, they don't even remember how they got called into this duty or anything like that, but the fact remains that that's what it is. And you know, I think this is a really cool complication that they introduced in the scenario. So we already had like the, you know, the danger of the comet, you know, trying to solve that and that mystery, but then they throw in this obstacle of the shepherds, and I thought it was a really cool way to give, you know, how like in like, you know, like I guess if we're gonna talk about like formulas and stuff like that, this fit really well with the formula that we've seen in TOS of like, you know, stuff going on down on the planet, and then also interesting stuff going on up on the ship as well. And I think that like this was a meaty enough subplot that it was interesting, and it kept me interested in, and you know, to see how Pike was gonna meet the challenge of these very like set in their ways shepherds who refuse to listen to reason, and you know, we're like all about like the Mahanit's will is the way, you know, like and stuff like that. What did you guys take from this?
This is the way. Um, no, I actually really like the alien of the week, so to speak, because I thought that it really gave us a sort of nice little thing of saying, you know, to you know, it just really brought up an interesting question to my head, like people who follow a specific faith blindly and people who follow faith for a specific reason. So, if we got to see these characters again, I would love to see an episode where we got a little bit more about how their specific beliefs were formed and why they believe that they should do something, even if they don't remember why they started doing it in the first place. I do like the fact that Pike sort of, when he talks to the guy, he's sort of like stalling and he says things that I don't think uh, I don't think Pike would have say would say, you know, if he wasn't stalling. So I really like his sort of interesting dialogue. He sounded like he was trying to really get the alien to see his point of view, but he wasn't really doing that by my standards. He was sort of making time and filling time for number one and Erica to scan and figure out how powerful their ship was. So I really liked his approach to dealing with this brand new alien that we haven't seen before.
I think this was also an interesting commentary on, you know, the whole idea of like not even knowing why you do something is an interesting commentary on certain religions that are very like dogmatic and very like hard fast to like not change even though society has changed around it. You know, so I think that's like something that was interesting too, is like how do you, because it is a challenge, it's like how do you show reason to someone who just believes with all their heart that this is the way, you know, like that, like they're unchanging, you know, in a sense. So, and actually, speaking of this is the way, it does parallel the more extremist faction that the Mandalorian is a part of. You know, it's like
that's the thing. That's the thing Pike says straight away. He's saying, "Oh, they're extremists."
they're
He
zealots.
actually does
Yeah.
zealots, so extreme zealots, whatever you want to say. So he says that straight away. But even, you know, with what going on, he changes his mind, and that's a
Yeah.
mark of a good leader as well. That he will listen and he will, you
He
know, he's
compromises, at least he figures it
yeah,
out. Yeah, he figures out a way around it, although he tricks them to make them believe that 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 like the Mahanit's will was was the way, but it still works. I like that aspect of it too. Crazy Space Monk reminds us that oh, sorry, right over here. Pike's father taught both science and comparative religion. A great background for Pike to meet the shepherds. Yeah, I like that. And I rewatched New Eden today. It's still my favorite New Trek episode, even after these have aired. That's such a great episode, New Eden. It's a powerful
great episode. Yeah,
episode. It's true.
Proof of concept.
I think that was that. I think New Eden was the way that maybe that was going to show the way Strange New Worlds was going to be.
No,
because I find that pacing was very similar to the way we're seeing it now.
And that
one episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's been Akiva Goldsman has, and I'm not lying. You guys can research this if you want, because I've been called a liar on this stream before, but I'm not lying about this.
We never called you a liar. We just called you
Bullshit,
misinformed.
You call me a liar all the time. Bullshit.
No, we called you. There's a difference between calling someone misinformed and calling them a liar, Marcelo.
I know, but Akiva Goldsman has sort of said on multiple occasions that the proof of concepts for a potential Strange New Worlds TV series was New Eden, and he happened to write that episode as well. So his whole proof of concept that a Captain Pike show could potentially work was the New Eden episode.
Yeah.
Right on. Cake is Eternal is saying, I like how Pike was very respectful toward the shepherds, but still working in the background, especially letting them believe it was preordained, which it actually may have been in the end. So yeah, it was an interesting twist. It's also about showing a seed of belief, says Daniel. And then Cake says, New Eden may be my favorite as well of all time. So sowing the seed of belief. Sorry, not showing it, but sowing the seed of belief. But yeah, interesting, really interesting Alien of the Week. Also on the Ready Room, they showed that the Shepherd character was a combination of practical effects as well as CGI. And also I think this was on Text Trek that they pointed out, but the voice of the voice actor had a very reminiscent to, is it John Kalikios? Like he had a very similar tone to him. Is that who I'm thinking of? Is the right person? No, who am I thinking of? Anyways, he had a very cool, epic voice. I thought it stood out, and I liked the voice acting. The Mahanut, like he was very like he pronounced the words in a very cool way, exaggerated way. Father says here, Akiva Goldsman never said New Eden was a test run for Strange New Worlds, but that has been my theory for years. So Marcelo says he said it, so maybe he can find where you saw that. So or Marcelo might be misinformed.
See, I told you, it always comes back to that.
I don't know. I don't know.
You are just opening up a can of worms here, aren't you? You really are opening up a can of worms.
I will just say, all kidding aside, we do get a lot of information wrong, especially when we talk about behind the scenes stuff, because we really don't know a lot about that stuff until the Blu-rays come out or whatever. But there are also tons of interviews out there, so not everyone has seen everything. So I actually heard, I could have sworn I heard Akiva Goldsman actually say and refer to the show as a reimagining, which is the first time I've ever heard anyone refer to a Star Trek show as a reimagining. And I thought that's cool, because to me, they are reimaginings. So I like it when the producers actually acknowledge stuff like that as well. So, and there's nothing wrong with a show being reimagined. It can also fit right into quote unquote canon and still be reimagined. It's just that it's we're choosing not to pay too much attention to the visual continuity, which I'm okay with. Also, his voice was awesome. I looked him up, but didn't know him from anything. I loved seeing the evasive maneuvers of the Enterprise and how it shows the expertise of Ortega's. Yeah, that's another great scene. That's coming out.
I also noticed one of the evasive maneuvers they used was April's.
That's right.
Oh yeah, it was an April evasive pattern, and then Ortega's has her own, which is pretty cool.
There's her own ones. Yeah, that's after. It's after where Pike actually says to her, "You said that you were going to be the best pilot. Now it's your chance to prove it."
One more line that I loved is, break the laws of physics if you have to. I really enjoyed that line. But anyways,
Yeah.
after Spock gives Uhura the pep talk, we go back to the Cave of Wonders. I call it. It's like from Aladdin's "Who Disturbs My Slumber." But we go back there, and Uhura figures out once she figures out that the cave is reacting to
Well, it's Spock that
um,
notices, isn't it?
Spock is
It's
the one
Spock
that points that
notices.
out.
right, sorry,
Yeah,
but once she realizes
Spock
it from
knows.
him pointing it out, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. She starts to experiment with it, and I loved that. Like even her notes, you could see there's like musical notes on her notes and stuff like that, and she's
Mm.
like sketching out the pattern. By the way, I also love the stylus is like a triangular shape.
They
I think
brought
that's
it
just
back.
like yeah, bringing it back to the original series there. So now we know what they were
Yeah.
writing all the time in the original series because I don't think we ever saw the screen. Maybe when Kirk was signing off on his
Uh,
logs or something like
they
that.
were they were actually on the screens in the original series. I bet you, like one of them had the script pages right on the thing.
That's a really good that's a fair bet, Marcelo, that that's true. But she figures
Mm.
out through a couple of experimentation, a little bit of experimentation, how to trigger it, I guess, and it causes Mahoney to open up, and so it reveals this like golden light from the inside, and it's all beautiful. And the music again in this part was really, really wonderful. And then
I
here, what's that?
I
I
did.
was going to go back. I think there was a couple of bits I liked. Hayes obviously is the sort of maybe going back to Charlie X even where you've got the harmonizing between her and Spock to get the
Yeah, that was
harmonics.
really cool.
So that's really good. And also I quite like where they're trying before we see the shepherds, where they're trying to they're looking at the comet and there's a signal and it's the Kenyan song that she was humming. So they knew that they were down there and that they were okay. So well, that's not a coincidence. Those two bits that I quite liked as well in the episode
Yeah, totally.
around here.
Marcel, what'd you think of the solution sequence here, like where she starts to figure everything out with Mahani?
It was really interesting. But again, I think that her singing, I didn't like the way that that was fed out by Henry Alonso Myers and his co-writer for this episode, just based on the fact that I didn't like the way they handled it. But with that being said, I I like the way that she sort of like baited Spock into starting to sing with her, and I love La'an's reaction. She's like, "Oh no, you guys go ahead and do it. If I do it,
She,
I'm
Destroy
rubbish.
it.
she'll activate the self
I'll destroy
destruct.
it."
Yeah, it should destroy it. It was just really good.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
never took music. You do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that quite a bit. But the other thing that sort of really bothered me the first time because I didn't really pay attention close enough is the whole logic about how the comet's shields work. And Pike and the rest of the crew said before Uhura, Spock, and Laan went down to the rock, basically, that the shields work on a harmonic frequency, that they are able to sort of worm their way in and out of the comet. So I missed that the first time. So I was very, very thrown aback where when they couldn't get off the comet, I'm like, how the hell did they get down there in the first place? Like this story
Oh
has a
yeah,
lot of
because
holes in it.
yeah,
But
Mahoney actually raises
yeah,
its
yeah, but
shields. Yeah,
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 but
that's right.
then after seeing the episode several times, I really forgave that issue because I was like, okay, he explained that away. I could just put a check mark next to that. Yeah, but I thought the other small little issue that I had with this scene is that her humming sounded eerily close to uh first um oh my god, what's the Steven Spielberg movie? Um,
Oh, you're thinking of Close
Close
Encounters of the Third
Encounters.
Kind.
Yeah, that
Yeah, they were like I wonder if the makers of the show
right,
actually thought about Close
right.
Encounters because it's a very similar thing, but it's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
again not just Close Encounters, but like as Ian had said, also referencing the
Mm,
Paradise Syndrome. So
mm.
yeah, interestingly enough.
No, the
Yeah.
last thing that I'll say about this scene is that earlier, I forgot to say it, that's why I'm mentioning it now. Earlier, when Kirk's brother got knocked on his ass for being an idiot, I like the fact that they use the little tricorder thingamabob. They use it like a defibrillator. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it onto the
'Cause-
on the badge of the environmental suit to defibrillate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
right.
cool.
You
That
know
was
something
cool.
cool? Earlier in the week, Frasier from Star Trek Unlimited posted saying, "I love the defibrillator sequence, but it's spelled wrong. So the spelling was actually wrong on there." And Timothy Peel, who is the lead, I think, on the visuals for like the interfaces and stuff like that, owned up to it. But then when I watched it yesterday, it was fixed. So I
He
wonder if
fixed it.
someone went back in there
He
and just
fixed it.
uploaded a brand new edit with the fixed thing. And I've always said that that's something that you could do in the streaming age. Like you can actually fix like mistakes that are obvious like that. Nothing's easy to do, of course, but that's a lot easier than it's a lot easier than like leaving it there like that permanently. So I thought that was pretty cool, and he acknowledged it, and he says, and I agree with him that the Star Trek visual effects team is one of the best in the business. I think especially in this show, it's going to a whole new level as far as modern Star Trek is concerned. I think they really are knocking it out of the park with the visuals. I mean, just look at. I mean, this is an insanely gorgeous set and scene, and
AR
that
wall.
the AR wall. Yeah, they're really utilizing that AR wall.
Mhm.
Crazy Space Monk says an egg is designed to be crush proof. It's a practical design for an ancient artifact hurtling through space. That's a really good point. Like maybe, had Mohanit crashed to the planet, it would have probably survived, and who knows what it would have done as a seed upon the planet. That's an interesting
No, but
concept. I like that.
the other thing that we're not considering, at least the first time we watched this episode, is why is this egg in the center of a goddamn comet? Like, what? Like, who put it there? Why is it
That's
there?
that's the thing
That's
that
a
the
Well,
shepherds
that's
say they don't even know. These are like
yeah, but yeah,
ancient,
yeah,
ancient.
this
you
is
know,
this is this is the good bit. This is the bit that we also had in Star Trek. We don't have to have all the questions answered.
right,
Yeah.
There's still a little bit of mystery in
right,
it, and I quite like that.
yeah. No, but
Yeah.
that's why what happens later, which I'm sure we're going to get to, that does give some light and sort of gives us a surface explanation as to why the Enterprise was here at this specific time to do this specific thing. So I like that.
Yeah. And I
Nice.
just thought of things saying with obviously Marcelo was saying about the humming with Uhura. If you go which and you will be coming up to it because you're doing your TOS reviews.
Yep.
The changeling,
I'll come up to it.
the changeling. There is a scene where Ahura is working away and she is humming away as she's working. So you've got that hardback. You will see this when on your
Rewatch, yeah.
reviews that you're
I'll
doing.
get there.
The changeling. There is Michelle Nichols as she's working. She is humming. So
Okay.
that's another bit that you will see with Celia Gooding.
I'll enjoy that.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Joel says, as to what the purpose of the comet is, Marcelo, it's a space fridge. It keeps the eggs fresh.
Space Fridge. Okay.
I like that.
All right. I think. All right. Space Fridge. There you go.
Amy saying, I thought the exterior was built up from traveling through space. We've seen this before with Voyager or TNG, the mask. That's right. They all get a little frozen. That's right. That thing was in a comet. That's a nice, the masks episode. Nice reference. That's very, very cool. I forgot about that. But yeah, it was in a comet, right? And the comet fades away. And stuff like that. And I'm in agreement with you, Ian. And, I realize that for some of us, like, you got to know everything. It's got to be seen on screen, like all that stuff. But I think that like goes back to another complaint that most people have is there's too much, like Marcelo, you were having to rewatch this episode just to catch things that you missed the first time. Imagine if they packed all these things in there, like you imagine you'd have to, watch it several times. So I kind of like the ambiguity. Also, I don't expect we'll ever see Mahanit again, because I think they're going to stick to the Alien of the Week / World of the Week concept. And, this is just a seed, if you will, planted in our brains.
unless it turns up on lower decks.
No,
Turns up on lower decks to wreak havoc.
dude, what if this thing turns up on lower decks, and then Beckett kicks the goddamn thing? I would love that.
So we get rescued
Well-
at last, thanks to Uhura's ingenuity and genius. And the battle for Persephone 3 begins, and it's pretty damn awesome. And I took these screenshots here. I had a complaint initially, Marcelo, just like you. I thought that they weren't jostling around when they were traveling through the asteroids. They weren't jostling around enough. Not the asteroids, but the debris field of the comet. But upon rewatching it, it wasn't as big an issue because they were being jostled whenever they were being hit, but the debris field wasn't that big of an impact as they got further closer to the front of the comet. But anyways, I thought this was amazing. In our second episode, we get like a full on space battle with like really good special effects with like interesting angles, like the whole, chasing the Enterprise around sequence, and then a really cool gambit where Pike basically convinces the shepherds to tractor beam them so that they could be distracted, so that Spock could go and do his thing with the shuttle and use the heat shield to melt away a part of the comet so that Mahanit would then change course. But and then of course we get like I love the whole resolution to that, where you get the chunk go off, and then we find out that it's actually changing the atmospheric composition of Persephone 3, so now it's going to be a less arid world, a less dry world, and that there might be rain cycles, and this could actually change the development of all of them. I also really liked everyone's kind of like reaction to all that, like the relief kind of. So I took this little section here from that, and then of course we get the rains. Here come the rains again. It's always delightful, I think, to see rain for some reason in a movie. I don't know why, but it always gives me like a really good feeling. I guess rain just has like this like inherent soothing and calming quality to humans because it's such a big part of our world and stuff like that. Yeah. And also, by the way, this scene, someone was comparing composer Nami Muhammad's music to Jerry Goldsmith. If you guys have ever seen the movie Medicine Man, I thought there were some hints of the Medicine Man score. Another movie set in a rainforest, type a rain environment. I thought there were some hints of Jerry Goldsmith's style in that as well. So hats off to composer Nami for that. But yeah, what'd you guys think of the whole resolution and how they figured it all out?
I love watching the Enterprise fly through space. I, like you, Starfleet boy, was a little bit bothered going, they're not shaking enough. What the hell? Where's my shakes? But like you said, sorry for being loud. But like you said, like they were moving when they got hit, but they weren't like jostling around like other situations where the Enterprise goes through something and like they're going right, 1, 2, 3, left, 1, 2, 3, So I did like that. The only thing that I was like, really, you just called for all of your communications to be shut down, right? All of your primary communications to be shut down. So how does your view screen still work? Isn't that a critical part of your ship systems? Why is that working?
The view screen, remember, it's isn't it like a window now? Like it's like an actual
window now.
Yeah. So like it actually still works.
Okay, because it's a window.
Yeah,
okay,
because it's an actual window. So that's something that modern Star Trek has totally adopted from the Kelvin.
Yeah, the window. Yeah.
The window instead of it's not just a view screen, it's also an actual
window. Okay.
Window, yeah.
Okay, so with that I could let that one go. But the thing that I won't let go is the whole Spock solution to busting up the comet. That is just something where I go, oh, I wish you guys would have done something different. That didn't really play well for me at all.
One of the things I did like about that sequence, I noticed is that they did a shot of Spock's empty his empty where is it? I'm trying to find. I thought I put the slide in here. Hold on. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so it's number 24. Let me just go back to that for a second. So I thought this was a nice reference to here. Let me hide the banner here. So I thought that the empty seat was a nice reference to, even though it was a little different, the context, like Pike is saying, okay, everyone, are you ready is everyone ready? And they kind of like show everyone getting ready, but then they kind of, very intentionally, I thought, held the shot on the scene of the empty seat, just kind of like reminding us that Spock's not on the bridge. Where could he be? And so he is once again putting his life on the line to save the ship, as he does in Star Trek 2 as well. So I like that a lot. I thought that was a really cool like canon connection, if you will, or connection to continuity, or even just like a thematic connection. I think is a much better way of putting it. But yeah.
I kept wanting to hear Bones say over the comm. I kept wanting to hear Bones say, Pike, you need to come to engineering right now and hurry. I'm like, what happened to Spock? What did he do? Something stupid? What happened to him? But he didn't. But he didn't do anything too stupid. But yeah, that was a nice little shot.
Two things I loved. Obviously, yes, I loved the bits, but the single stream phaser from the Enterprise.
Yeah, that was really
with
cool.
The sound was really, really cool. I love that bit. And the one bit that had me confused, and it still does, I don't know whether it's nagging me or whatever. Right at the end with it, Spock laughs. And he says, because obviously it's all to do with when things have gone so bad, you've got to laugh. And I'm thinking, everything went right.
No, but just before that, they show a shot of the shuttlecraft appearing to get crushed by the comets, and they lose contact with Spock for a moment, and then when they gain contact with him again,
he laughs, but
is the laugh.
And he went, but he said, Spock says, when everything goes so wrong, you've got to laugh. And I'm thinking, everything went to plan. You split it up, everything there. It went. The comet missed the planet. What?
Yeah.
Bar the nacelle being hitting the bit. What went wrong?
I think that's what it was. I think the impression I got is we were meant to think that like Spock's shuttle was gonna get really, really damaged, but I do think that that's like something that this might be a case where we need a little bit more to clarify that, maybe. But I did like it because it was just a callback to what I guess Pike said. Earlier,
right, the first scene of the episode, yeah.
Yep, exactly. So that was pretty cool. Is Una the main navigator? I think she is, right? She's helm.
She was helm because
she doesn't drive. No, she doesn't drive.
She doesn't drive, so she's got
She did though. She did drive. She did though. In the cage and in the cage and also in season 2 Discovery.
Pike does mention that he likes to rotate people and give them different assignments too on the Enterprise to keep them fresh. So maybe she can, and she does. She goes to the communication station, and so yeah, she hops around all over the place. So yeah, I think that's part of something we'll have to get used to. But definitely Ortegas is the nav, the nav here. She's the pilot. Yeah.
She drives.
She is. I'm glad the Enterprise has a tactical officer. Weapons fire was not clearly assigned in TOS. Yeah, I guess that's true. I had the same what the heck moment as Ian with Spock laughing. So yeah, I took it as just like I forget where I heard it, but I think it was also on Text Trek where maybe Dave was pointing out how sometimes when you have a lot of nervous energy, a laugh is how you release it. It's like a good way to like kind of. What's that?
He's Vulcan.
Yeah, but he's not all Vulcan, Ian. He's half human. I'll remind you over and over again.
He is suppressing his human side.
No, not till he doesn't do the collinear. He doesn't actually do the collinear until the motion picture.
But he still even through you can't go there because even through TOS he was.
No, we have precedent from the cage showing him laughing and smiling, and and Discovery as well. So I think this is a good. I think this is good. I think for the most part, he's a lot more
Oh,
serious and a lot more logical than he was in The Cage, as well as in Disco season 2. So I think this is a good. It's showing a progression of Spock heading towards how we know him in TOS.
Yeah.
But just whatever. We're having a friendly debate here.
semantics.
But anyways, we go on from this to finally, after it's all said and done, we have this Uhura's report that she gives, where she reveals that based on the telemetry that they gathered hours before the actual event, it looked like the event was actually predestined or preordained. That Mahanit always knew that its course was going to be to avoid the planet, and it was. And I like what she says, where she's like, "Here's where things get weirder." So it did rely on Spock doing what he did, his maneuver, but also at the same time, Mahanit knew that it was going to happen. So Mahanit was just chilling, waiting for it to happen while everyone was doing this. And this references back to the big realization that Burnham has also in season 2, that she had to be the final signals, like the signal. They were waiting for the signals,
the red angel.
Yeah, the red angel signals. They were waiting for the signals, but the signals wouldn't appear until she actually placed them. And once she realizes that, that's when the loop or the paradox is broken. And I think a similar thing happens here, and it's very interesting. But I really love this because the way that she describes it, Pike actually, it resonates with him, because he's been struggling with this idea of destiny versus free will as well. And for Uhura to kind of like put this like idea in on the table, you could tell that Pike was very like moved by it, and so is number one, who's also, and Spock as well, who the three of them standing here know Pike's fate, and so they're all kind of in cat boots together about it. Like they're working together to maybe try to avoid the worst case scenario. Are you smiling because I said cat boots? Marcelo's least favorite show. But anyways, sorry, my headphones just.
I've lost your train. You've lost your train of thought.
No, I coughed
But
and then my headphones did a weird thing because the noise canceling feature. But
okay.
But anyways, they go on from this to a touching, again, wrapping up, closing that loop from earlier, where Spock actually says, "You know what? I know I said what I said, but at the end of the day, if you do decide to stay in Starfleet, I can see clearly that Starfleet would benefit from you. So maybe this is your home after all." And of course, we, the audience, know that it ends up being her home. She ends up, even though we would have liked more Uhura content or more Uhura focus in later iterations, we still get a lot of Uhura story, and even especially fleshed out in the non-screen stuff, like in Star Trek Picard, we get the plaque that shows that she actually eventually became the captain of her own starship, and that she may have even traveled outside of our galaxy on a 5-year mission of her own. And Jean-Luc's first warp flight was aboard her ship, because that's what she used to do, is give people their first break their warp bubble, if you will. Sorry, that was
the warp cherry.
The warp bubble. Cherry. Yeah, but warp cherry, I guess, is appropriate as well. But yeah, so I think this was such a great, personally, I just was really vibing off of the Uhura arc in this episode. And there is something nice about not having a cliffhanger at the end of the episode.
Oh, thank God we don't have this anymore.
Like, and like what you said, it's like, we learned so much. We got a really great adventure. We learned a lot about these, this legacy character, and then got to meet some other characters and get to know them even more. But we also got like a nice little, I think they pulled it off really well as far as doing a modern take on episodic television. I think this is exactly the kind of formula, not without its flaws, of course, as we've heard from, Marcelo and others in the audience, but certainly, a really great step in a direction that maybe Star Trek should kind of kind of live in, like this format. I think it goes back to giving us time to absorb science and like wonder and mystery, rather than like, a cataclysm that, takes over a season. So yeah, different types of storytelling, but the cool thing is that there is something for everyone now in Star Trek. There's 5 running shows running concurrently, with Strange New Worlds now. And so everyone can get a little bit of Star Trek the way that they
It's
want
like ice
to, which is
cream.
cool. Yeah, it's like a flavor
It's
picture
ice cream.
flavor of
It
ice
is.
cream.
Ice
Yeah.
cream.
But we end
Yeah.
with this like this awesome again, another recap to an earlier scene, like another like closing of the loop, if you will, with number one and Pike. They're reflecting on the whole Mahanit thing and how the comet, how it all went down with, faith versus in the moment, like, and
Fate. Yeah.
predestiny versus free will, which Picard also deals with a lot. But then here's where number one throws in the idea that like just because you have knowledge of the future doesn't mean you know how that future has to turn out. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of ways to get there, and there's a lot of ways to interpret knowledge of the future. And interestingly enough, this inspires Pike to actually learn about the people that he knows the names of. And so he pulls up the files, and they're all like at around 10 years old. So we know like in 6 years, 6 to 10 years, they'll be of academy age. So it makes sense in terms of that. And so he's starting to learn about these kids that he's going to end up saving. And I thought it was interesting that they framed him in the fire, because it just, to me, it reminded me of Generations, like time is the fire in which we
Fire that
burn.
we burn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I thought that was an interesting thing. And so there is a ticking clock for us, which is Pike's fate. And like now we've got an introduction to these characters. So I wonder how they'll come into play in later seasons when they start coming into the age where they can join Starfleet and join the Academy and stuff like that. But what do you guys think of the solution of the episode and all these final scenes? I know I packed a lot in there.
No, it's
I
no,
find
it's
it
quite.
refreshing. I do find it refreshing that we
Sorry,
are
Marcel. Go ahead,
getting.
Ian.
Yeah, I was saying. Sorry, I'm finding it refreshing that we get the end of the story in an episode. It's I like the fact that there are still going to be elements and the golden thread that it's going through, but the planet of the week, the story of the week, and we're not having to go into. It's a bit like, really, you can come into, if you haven't seen the first episode, you could still watch the second episode and still enjoy the story. You don't have to watch your last week's to understand what's going on this week. And there's something about that I do like. um I like the episodic type of storytelling for me, and it was just a great story. And there's two bits that I forgot to mention. We have that scene where Spock is talking about, he's counting down the time, where Uhura says, "You do have this predilection of telling us how much time," and Pike
Yeah.
turns around and said, "She's not wrong," and that's I, I do like that scene, and also where Pike turns around to number one. I love my job.
Yeah, that was really great as well.
To do like that. So those two, but I think it was a great episode. I enjoyed it more than last week's, and I long may it continue.
Yeah, it's funny because Celia Gooding's energy in those last two scenes, particularly the one where she's giving Spock, Una, and Pike the briefing, that's the type of energy that I wanted her to have throughout the entire episode. But that's just something really small. I really love the scene with Una and Pike in his quarters and her saying, just because just because you think that you know the way you're end, just because you think you you know the way that you're going to end, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the way you're going to end. It's completely up to you. So it's your choice. So I think that gives us a little buffer into if we see that happen on screen or if we don't. Like, I don't think that we're actually going to see that happen. So, but just a little aside here, Rebecca Romaine is a goddamn stunning woman, and I like her just sitting there with the little glass thing. I thought that was awesome.
She's stunning in
Um,
person too, just
oh yes,
FYI. And so
yeah.
is her hubby,
No,
Jerry O'Connell, I have to say.
no, I love Jerry O'Connell. I love that guy because he's ransom. He's awesome.
It's cool that they're both
So
number ones.
yeah,
but
yeah,
Jerry O'Connell says number one in the household is definitely Rebecca Romaine,
yeah,
which
of
is
course
cool.
he's gonna say that.
He's a good guy.
But yeah, no, just to back up Ian's point and to sort of bolster some of my own, there's just there's something special about the way that this show is structured, the pace of it all, that harkens back to the type of Star Trek that I like to see. I'm not necessarily trashing on all the other amazing Star Trek that we've gotten so far. I just find something so unique and so relaxing about this iteration of Trek that I don't necess- that I can't necessarily find in other iterations.
Maybe to quote a famous captain as he was dying, it was fun. And that's what it boils down to.
Sorry, I just want to just slightly counteract something Marcelo said. Where he wanted Uhura to be that way. I actually quite like the growth that we see. We see her that she's not so confident. She's questioning herself at the start, and the way the episode goes, that she's got that confidence to be that way. I personally like that growth in her. That's sorry, Marcelo, but that's
No, it's okay.
what I saw.
That's the whole. I think Marcel's cool with being an outlier sometimes.
No,
that's cool, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, it would be very boring if we were all the same. So
Yeah,
it's good
exactly.
to have the difference of opinion. And I was going to say it will be interesting to see because I've seen some shows on YouTube today. What the impact of Strange New Worlds is now going to have on the rest of the franchise.
I will say
are
that
we going to see any differences in the way they start telling stories in Discovery? Obviously, Picard is coming to season 3 now. That's
well,
there. But it
yeah.
will be
Well, remember
interesting to see.
Lower Decks is already doing this format, but with the comedy, comedy genre.
Strange New Worlds,
Yes.
Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks is a story in each episode, but you have that common thread all the way through. So it will be interesting to see, will there be a change in Discovery, and what other what other series are we going to get? Is it going to be a sort of a mishmash of the two?
And I think that Star Trek Prodigy is doing a good job of serialized but not intense. Like it is. Yeah. There is like this villain chasing him every episode and stuff like that. Again, Marcelo, I know you disagree with that about Prodigy, but also I will say that Discovery itself took a change in tone starting with season 3, and they became more family friendly, if you will. Like there's less gore, there's less violence and things like that. Picard, which Alex Kurtzman says is the adult show, is the only one that kind of retained its vibe of, but even I feel like Picard changed to a lighter hearted tone as well in season 2. So yeah, I think that the message is pretty clear that that for Star Trek, and at least you can still do these like crazy things, but if you got to maintain some kind of core of optimism and and like a core of hope, I think that that is pervasive throughout. And I think that's the thing that like turned a lot of people off to maybe season 1 of Discovery, is just that it's kind of a despairing type of season. There's a lot of they go through a lot of bad shit. And it doesn't even really get better until the end. So yeah, I can see how it can like do that to you. Joel points out less incest in Picard season 2. I feel like they didn't have any at all, right? Like there was no incest at all. So yeah, I don't recall any of it. So I
don't know where that comes from.
They nixed that idea. Also, by the way, Akiva Goldsman admitted that was his thing, right? Like the Narissa, was it him, right? Narissa,
yeah.
and thing. Like I don't know why he felt like that was something that he wanted those characters to have, but yeah,
no, why not?
It didn't land.
Why
well.
not? She was a hot Romulan. Why not?
Wow, Marcel.
Why not?
Let's not go there.
All of Brady is a beautiful woman.
She is. It's true.
Yeah.
It's tradition in on Starfleet Boy to give a rating at the end of the episodes. So I'll go first as is per usual.
Stop.
And
We all know what you're gonna say. Stop. Okay, no,
and just
go
say
ahead.
that this episode gets a 4, a solid 4 in my book. I thought it was a really good addition. I can't wait till the next one. No, it gets a 10. Of course, it gets a 10. In fact, I think after this conversation, I might even bump it up to like a 10.1 or something like that. It gets warp 14.9 from quoting another episode.
I was so shocked there for a minute. I was like, oh my god, he changed his rating.
But now let's hear your rating also, audience, and then Marcella, why don't you regale us if you choose with a rating or any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I had well, just my final thoughts first. I had some issues about this episode, as I've stated, as we've been talking here, but those issues really most of them got solved in other rewatches. But there is that story issue that I had. But even with that being a part of my whole experience, I'm just enjoying the show so far. It's not making me want to scoop out my eyeballs or scream at Akiva Goldsman so much anymore. So with that being said, I still think that I love the first episode a little bit more than this one, but my grade for this episode will be a solid 4. I thought it was really good.
Oh, I predicted your rating. That's crazy.
You did.
What'd you give last week's episode?
I give it a 7 last week.
You went from 7 to 4? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, 7 to 4.
Oh, based on our conversation, I expected a 6, but yeah, that's interesting. Very cool.
Yeah.
So a 4, that's like below average on this episode for you.
Yeah, no, but it's but the reason why I made it a 4 is because I didn't like some of the handling from the story aspect. So when writers do things that annoy me from a writing perspective, that's what brings my score down a bunch.
Yeah, well, I mean, I give 10, so I'm not trying to knock you. You don't have to justify your 4 or anything like that. But Ian, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I thought Celia Gooding was absolutely magnificent in this episode. To be honest, I don't think there's anybody in this that is bad. I'm liking each character. As I said, I'm finding it refreshing that we do get the story is encapsulated within an episode. I'm loving that. Out of if for the I don't like the phrase, but out of the new Trek, Strange New Worlds is becoming my favorite. I think when I watched, as I said, I watched it again today, and I said to myself, I'm buying this on disc. I tend to buy anyway, but this is the one where I thought I'm really buying this on disc before it even.
It's gonna look
out.
so gorgeous in 4K on Blu-ray, or
absolutely.
It's
so
really pretty.
I'm looking forward to Paramount Plus next month and having this and everything else. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am giving it a 9. There's just a couple of things that sort of stuck with me. The Spock laugh I don't really get. I don't the shields was just a little bit as well for me, but all in all it was a great episode and well performed. Loved it all. So it's a 9.
PJ says Starfleet boy looks 22. Thank you. That's so nice of you, PJ.
He's definitely not 22, folks.
Ian, sorry, I got distracted by that compliment. Yeah, I'm like 20 years more than that. Like I'm 22 years older than that. So I'm 44 years old. I got distracted. What was your PJ distracted
9.
me with a compliment. What was your rating again?
9.
9. Awesome. I'm going to raise my rating to a 15 to counteract Marcelo's 4. So the average rating
is 9.
So the average rating this episode is a 9. Just
Come on.
FYI. Hey, captain's prerogative, right?
All right, all right,
Like
all right.
so, like whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
As the admiral, I back your decision.
Nice. The Admiralty has spoken. You
All
can't
right.
have a gray beard and call yourself a boy. I am, by the way, I'm rebranding slowly as I get older from Starfleet boy to Starfleet old man.
Oh
I already
man.
have I already have the like the handle and everything. So as I get older, I will eventually become Starfleet old man, which I'm really excited about. I want to be like that guy, like
But
get off
it's
my
like
bridge, like when I'm when I'm older
no, but
and
like is
more
there
cantankerous.
is there like an age where you're gonna like change it over? Like are
Yeah,
you
like
like
I
a
think
certain
around
age?
60s, late 60s, maybe seven. Actually, that's still very young in our modern society. I think 70s, late 70s is if I make it to that age. To that age, that's when Starfleet old man might take over. But right now, my handle says Starfleet boy, boy no more. So that's the updated handle if you go to check me out on Twitter. Audience, this has been really fun. Marcel, can you tell folks what's going on in your social channels and how people
Yeah.
can find you this
Um,
week?
right now I am doing a weekly live stream covering all the episodes of Strange New Worlds, and that kicks off at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. So if you're around, jump in the chat and say hi. I don't necessarily guarantee if I'll see it, but I will definitely say hi later on. And I'm also going to continue my TOS reviews this week. The episode up next up for me is Naked Time, I think the episode's called. So that will be posted on my YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Friday. So at 2 p.m. You have my review of episode 3 of Strange New Worlds, and at 7 p.m. you have my review of The Naked Time from the original series. And I have one more thing to say. On the 27th, I'm also going to be hosting a live watch along of Star Wars: The Force Awakens with
Ooh.
two of two of two of with two very delightful individuals that if you're part of the Star Trek sphere on Twitter, you definitely know who they are. So I look forward to that. That stream will go live on the 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Is that the same day that Obi-Wan comes out?
Uh,
I
I
think it is.
I think it is. Did you want to do a review like the same night, or do you
Yeah,
want
Starfleet Boy's going nuts for Obi-Wan, just so everyone knows. So we've moved Starfleet Boy After Dark to Saturdays, but I will still do Friday night streams for Obi-Wan. I'm gonna try not to overlap with your stream, so we'll talk offline about the
to? That's okay.
logistics so that
Yeah.
we don't
Is he
overlap.
another one of your husbands?
Obi-Wan is just to me like he's
One
more
that got
like
away.
I would think of him more as like my like I love my father, but he's more like a dad. Obi-Wan's like my space dad on the Star Wars side of
Okay.
things.
Space,
And
Fair
then
enough.
Luke Skywalker, in my opinion, is the greatest Jedi ever. He's actually the chosen one, not Anakin. Don't listen to what George Lucas says. There's lots of evidence that Obi-Wan is right, and that Luke is actually the chosen one. Luke and Leia, actually, both of them are the chosen ones.
I have the high ground.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there's some funny memes, by the way, with the with the binoculars or whatever. Folks, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned in just about 30 minutes over on Trek Central. I'll be joining Captain Jack and team, and we'll be talking about all the Star Treks, including Strange New Worlds. So if you're not tired about talking about Strange New Worlds, go over there. I'm not tired about it, so I could talk about this for days. I could do this for days, as Captain America says.
I could do this all day.
All day, that's what he says. But Marcelo and Ian, I really appreciate this. Was a really thoughtful discussion, I thought, and it looks like the audience enjoyed it too. So thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
I do have one more surprise. After I finish my live episode reviews of Strange New Worlds, Balloonhead Live will continue, and the next series that I'm going to cover after Strange New Worlds is my favorite Star Trek series of all time, TNG. So you guys can look forward to that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, so but I thought about going in order with reviewing the Star Trek series, but I love TNG so much, and I figure if I go in not in order, I'll get them done quicker than I would have the first time if I
Right
went
on.
in order. So yeah, sorry about that.
Also, everyone, don't forget to check out Text Trek. They just did a deep dive on this episode as well, so you can go. Father, we put the link in the audience. All right, live long and prosper, everyone, and we will see you next time. Oh wait, we didn't do Dadmiral. Sorry, hold on.
No, no, you didn't. No, it's lucky I've
Yeah,
got nothing to say in it. Yeah.
yeah, you do. Hold. Times you save the best for last. All right, go ahead.
Well, this week I dropped a new video. Marcelo's favourite ship,
Yeah,
the Stargazer.
Yes.
So that dropped this week. I was doing Deep Space Nine for the latest video, but I'm having issues with it. So the next video is this little thing here,
And that is the
as you'll see,
Protostar.
Oh, that's cool.
and it is the
Bum
Protostar.
bum 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 bum
So
bum
this
bum.
and it actually is interchangeable. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm talking to you and I'm waffling on, and I know Starfleet Boy has got to get off soon because he's going over to Trek Central, I am quickly just
The
doing
earlier
this
start time
because
actually
there
worked. I
is,
don't have as tight a time now between here and
yeah.
there, so we're
So
good.
so we have you have it with the proto drive, and now
Look at that. Now
the
she's
proto drive is
yeah.
gone.
And then the
So
cells
it
went
looks like
down when
that.
you had the proto drive on, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool too.
it
So
did. Then the
it's
sides were down. So this
articulating.
is it is articulating, and the design is brilliant. So I will hopefully be posting this video again probably later in the week. And yeah, so I have lots of builds to do. As I said, I've got the Protostar. Probably Voyager is going to be my next one. I have Strange New Worlds Enterprise. I have TOS. I have the refit. I have the Shang-Chi from Picard season 1.
I love
I
that thing.
have I have the Enterprise D. I've got the Deradex. I've got the Klingon D7. I have got so many little builds to do, and I've still got my reviews of Blue Bricks. There is a lot of brick building. There's a lot of Legos still to be done, and sooner or later, I will do a little tour video of all the Lego builds that I got at the moment, including the Mega Blocks
That one
Enterprise,
right
which is
there.
always in
Very
our
cool.
videos.
Yeah,
That's
it's true.
awesome.
So yeah, I will do because I did get asked if I would show it because I think you probably will see just over there. There are a whole range of little ships which I've been doing from
Don't
my
break your
channel over
little
there.
ships, Ian.
Oh, I won't
Yeah.
break my little ships. I won't do that. So yes,
Sorry.
there is plenty. As I said, you can get me on Twitter, you can get me on Instagram, and on YouTube. And it's just odd. I turned around and said I was on 125 yesterday, and I dropped to 123 today on my YouTube channel. So
Oh
I am trying
no!
to get to
Someone
100. I am trying to get to
Someone,
150, and I will.
audience, everyone here, posted the link to Dadmiral UK in the chat, so go and
Yeah,
subscribe. That's
because
cool.
when I do get to 150, this is being given away. This is the USS Titan,
Right on.
so it will be the kit. So somebody will be getting one of those 150 subscribers will be getting the USS
One
Titan.
of you could be the winner, so yeah, go help out.
Yeah.
So thank you. Also, by the way, I should remind everyone, please, if you like this video, please like it, and so that we can confound the algorithm. And please consider subscribing to this channel as well as Starfleet Boy After Dark for some more of this casual and informal content that we do every week. So thank you again. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you, audience. Live long and prosper. We will see